Hello there, and welcome to the GCSE revision video. Here we're looking at algebraic fractions. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through simplifying algebraic fractions, then multiplying and dividing algebraic fractions, then adding and subtracting, because multiplying and dividing is actually easier than adding and subtracting. And then towards the end of the video we're going to have a look at solving equations related to algebraic fractions. So let's get started on the first one then. Pause the video and give this question a go. Okay, so with this first question here, what's really important you do first is you factorize the top and the bottom to put them into factors so that you can cancel out the factors. So for example, if we remember that we might want to simplify the fraction 15 over 24, one sensible way of doing this might be to split it up into its factors, like 3 and 5 over maybe 3 and 8. They're splitting up into its factors there, and then you cancel out the factors when it's being multiplied onto the other factor. You can't cancel out anything that's being added or subtracted onto the other values in the fraction. It's only factors. So in this case here, I'm cancelling out a factor of 3. So I want to factorize it first. So x plus 4, x minus 4. All over x minus 4, x minus 2. Okay, so now that we've got it in its factors, we can see that x minus 4, much like the 3 here, is a factor of the top and the bottom. So we can simplify both of those, x plus 4 over x minus 2. And there we are, that's the answer. You can't go any further, you can't cancel out the x's here, you can't go, you just have to leave it as it is. So that would not equal 4 over minus 2. That's incorrect. Let's scribble that out because that's not correct. The answer is x plus 4 over x minus 2. Okay, so there we are. That's the answer to the first one. So hopefully that's a little bit of a refresher as to how to simplify algebraic fractions. Let's move on to the next one. Pause the video and give this one a go. Okay, so this topic here is really testing your factorizing of quadratics, isn't it, really? So it's on the top it's going to be 2p and p. The factor is going to be 3 and 5, and I think if we put the minus 3 over here, that will give us minus 6, and the plus 5 over here, that will give us 5p, so that will give us minus p in total. For the bottom one here, it's a one bracket factorization question, p brackets p minus 3. And we can simplify here the p minus 3 as a factor from the top and the bottom, 2p plus 5 over p. And there we are, that's the answer to that one. Let's move on to the next one. Pause the video and give this one a go. Okay, so again it's a factorizing question on the top and the bottom, x plus 5, x minus 5. That's on the numerator, and on the bottom it's going to be a 2x and an x, and if I put the minus 5 over here and the plus 1 over here, that will mean it factorizes out or expands to give minus 9x and the minus 5. Good, so that means I can see I've got a common factor of x minus 5 on the top and the bottom there, so it's x plus 5 over 2x plus 1. And there we are, that's the answer to that one. Let's move on to the next one, pause the video and give this one a go. Okay, so this is just a similar question to ones before, simplified, but it's just written in a bit of a different way. So the simplification of this fraction here is going to be, well, on the top it's going to be a one bracket factorization, and on the bottom it's going to be 2x and x, and it's going to be this as the factor, so it's going to be plus 3 and minus 1. And we can cancel out the factor of x plus 3 on the top and the bottom, so it's going to be x over 2x minus 1. And comparing it to what it should be written as, I can see here that therefore k equals 2, because 2 is on the coefficient of x on the bottom. So there we are, it's a simplification question, it's just phrased in a different way. Okay, let's move on to the next one, pause the video and give this one a go. Okay, this is a very good point to illustrate the technique of factorizing, because To factorize, I do it in 2 steps. Check for one bracket factorization first, and then if you can't do any one bracket, or if you've done the one bracket, check if you can do any 2 bracket type of factorization. So for this one, let's do some one bracket factorization first. It's going to be 2 and then x squared minus 4 on the numerator, and on the bottom it's going to be 4 and x squared minus 2x. Well, in fact, actually, if we factorize out the x from this bracket as well, then that would be even better. So in the next line, I'm going to make this factorization even better. So on the top, it's going to be 2, and then I can factorize what's inside the bracket here. It's going to be x plus 2, x minus 2. I'm going to make the factorization on the bottom even better by factorizing an x out of this bracket here, x minus 2. Now it's time for simplifying. I can see I've got a factor of x minus 2 on the top and the bottom, and I can see the 2 out of 4 can simplify as well to a half. So this thing here will fully simplify to one lot of x plus 2 over 2x. And there we are, that's the answer for this question here. Let's move on to the next one. Pause the video and give this one a go. Okay, let's start factorizing. So it's going to be a 3x and x on the top. It's going to be an x minus 3 at the back and a plus 1 at the front. So that will give it a minus 9x and a x. That will give it minus 8x in the middle. Good. And for the bottom factorization, it's going to be a 2, and there's going to be an x in common between both the terms in the denominator. So that's going to make it x minus 3. So to cancel out now, it's cancelling out the x minus 3's. So that's going to be 3x plus 1 over 2x. And there we are, that's the answer to this question. Let's move on to the next one. Pause the video and give this one a go. Okay, let's move on to factorizing it. So it's going to be x plus 4, x minus 4. And then on the denominator, it's going to be a 2x and x. And I think if I put the minus 3 over here, and the plus, no, maybe the minus 4 over here, and the minus 3 over here, that will make it 2x squared, good. That'll make it minus 3x, no, maybe the plus here, minus 8x plus 3, yes, that's good now, and the minus 12, yes, this is it. So there's a bit of a trial and improvement there. And cancel out the x minus 4 and the x minus 4 there. That will leave us with x plus 4 over 2x plus 3. And there we are, that's the answer to this question. Let's move on to the next one. Pause the video and give this one a go. Okay, let's start factorizing the top and the bottom. So for the top, it's going to be 2x plus 5, 2x minus 5. You can see it's the same numbers inside the brackets there, but one with a plus, one with a minus, and that will cancel out to get the middle x. And with this one here, now this one's going to be tricky because it's either going to be a 6x and x or a 3x and 2x. So I'm going to have to spend some time seeing if I can simplify this. It's probably going to be a 2x because I need to cancel out with something on the top. So that's a bit of a clue. And it's either going to be 2x minus 5 or 2x plus 5. I think if I put a plus 5 here and a minus 1 here, then that will make 15x minus 2x. That'll give me 13x in the middle there. Good. So it's going to be cancelling out of 2x plus 5's on the top and bottom. So it's 2x minus 5 over 3x minus 1. So how did I know to cancel out the 2x plus 5's? So how did I know it was going to factorize into this on the denominator here? Well, it was either going to be 6x and x on the bottom fraction, or it was going to be a 3x and 2x, and I knew it had to cancel out with a 2x on the top, so I knew it was probably going to be a 2x, 3x situation on the bottom. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Pause the video and give this one a go. Okay, so we're going to factorize into smaller steps here. For the first one, we'll try one bracket factorization, so that's going to be 2. And then 25x squared minus 4 over, and then that's going to be a 2 as well, 5x minus 2. In the next bracket, and then in the next factorization, we'll try 2 brackets if we can. It'll be 2x, so not 25x. For the top one, it will be 5x minus 2, 5x plus 2. And on the denominator, we can't factorize anymore, so it's just 5x minus 2. Now in this one here, we can cancel out the 2's at the front and the 5x minus 2's inside the bracket. Now what does that mean we've got left on the bottom? Well, it's just a factor of 1 effectively, so it's 5x plus 2 over 1, but we don't generally write final answers as a fraction over 1, it's just 5x plus 2. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Pause the video and give this one a go. Okay, so with this one here, it's either going to be factorizing into 6x and an x or a 3x and a 2x. On the denominator, we could do some one bracket factorization first to make the problem easier. That will simplify into 3 brackets 4x squared minus 9. So just as a little bit of a clue as to what I'm going to do to the denominator, I can now factorize the denominator. That's going to be 3 brackets 2x plus 3, 2x minus 3. So I know it's going to have to cancel out with something like 2x plus 3 or 2x minus 3, so I know it's going to probably be a 3x 2x situation. So let's see what we've got. We've got 15 here, so if I put the plus 5 here and the minus 3 here, that will make 10x, and minus 9x, that'll make the x in the middle there, which is perfect. So now it's 3x plus 5x, so 3x plus 5 and 2x minus 3. Cancel out the 2x minus 3 and the 2x minus 3 there, so that's going to make it 3x plus 5 over 3 bracket 2x plus 3. And there we are, that's the answer for this question here. Right, moving on to the next one, some more simplifying here. Pause the video and give this one a go. Okay, so again, the bottom is probably going to be a 3x and a 2x or a 6x and an x situation, but it's difficult to tell. What I'll do first is work on the numerator to help me out. I can factorize a 3 out of the numerator, so that's going to make it 4x squared minus 1. And that can even simplify to 3 brackets 2x plus 1, 2x minus 1. So that means I'm probably going to be factorizing out cancelling out a factor of one of these 2 brackets on the bottom. So it's probably going to be a 3x and a 2x situation. So it's going to be, we've got a plus 1 and a minus 4. So if we make this one the plus 4 and this one the minus 1, then that'll make 8x and minus 3x. So that'll make it 5x in total in the middle. So that's what we're going to be factoring it into, and then we'll cancel out the 2x minus 1 brackets. So it's going to be 3 brackets 2x plus 1 and 3x plus 4 on the denominator. And there we are, that's the answer to this question. Moving on to the next one, pause the video and give this one a go. Okay, so for the denominator, it's going to be 3x plus 2, 3x minus 2. And on the denominator, it's going to be a 3x and an x. And it's making plus 10 when you multiply and minus 17 when you expand the x's. So it's probably going to be minus 2 and minus 5. Let's check to see if that works. It'll be minus 15 and minus 2. That'll make minus 17. Lovely. So we're cancelling out the 3x minus 2's here. 3x plus 2. and x minus 5. Let's move on to the next one. Pause the video and give this one a go. Okay, so for this question here, it's just a fancy way of saying simplify. So it's going to be 2x and x on the denominator, so in the numerator. And that's going to probably be plus 1 and minus 5. And the denominator is going to be x plus 1, x plus 5. So we'll cancel out the x plus 1s on the top and the bottom to make it 2x minus 5 and x plus 5. So there we are, that's the answer. So here effectively a is 1, b is minus 5, c is 1, sorry, on the top there a is 2 rather. On the bottom c is 1 and d is 5. Okay, so that's what we're referring to, comparing this and this thing here. A is 2, b is minus 5, c is 1, d is 5. Let's move on to the next one. Pause video. Oh, we've finally moved on to the multiply questions. Yay. So pause the video and give this question a go. Okay, so before we do the multiplying, what's going to be easier to do is if we simplify all the fractions first, and then we might be able to see if bits cancel out before we multiply together. So the first thing we do with a multiply or divide type question is factorize again. So it's going to be 2x plus 3, 2x minus 3. On the denominator, we can factorize using one bracket, 3 brackets 2x plus 3. And then we'll multiply this by 2x over x bracket x minus 3. So let's see what we can do in terms of simplifying before we times together. So we can factorize, and so we can cancel out a 2x plus 3 on the top and bottom here. We could cancel out an x on the top and the bottom here. And if there were anything on the tops and bottoms diagonally as well, we could cancel out them, but there isn't in this case. So now we follow the rules of timesing fractions, and it's a really easy rule: top times top, bottom times bottom. So it's going to be 2 bracket 2x minus 3 over 3 bracket x minus 3. We can't cancel out here. It almost looks like we can cancel out these fractions here, but we can't. We just have to leave them as they are. So it's you times the tops together and you times the bottoms together. There we are, that's the final answer. But it wants us to leave our answer in this form, so actually we have to expand the brackets because it says to do so in the question. It wants us to be in this form, not in a factorized form. So it's going to be 4x minus 6 and 3x minus 9. You may miss out on a mark if you don't expand the brackets there and write it how it exactly wants you to write it there, but there we are, we have done so here. Okay, so we're now into the realms of timesing and dividing. Dividing is a little bit different, but you start by doing roughly the same thing. Pause the video and give this one a go. Okay, so you start by factorizing to see if you can cancel out any bits before you start. So it's going to be 7 bracket x minus 2 over x plus 6 x minus 2 divided by x minus 6, and on the denominator here it's going to be x bracket x squared minus 36. But hold on, we could simplify that bit of the denominator a bit more because we've done one bracket, but now we could do two brackets on it now. So it's going to be 7 bracket x minus 2 over x plus 6 x minus 2 divided by x minus 6 over x plus 6 x minus 6. So there we are, fully factorized now. Now the next thing to do is to turn this divider into a times, but flip the second fraction. So it's going to be 7, so leave the first fraction alone. what I'm now doing here is the rule for dividing fractions. It's multiply, but the second fraction upside down. Some of you might remember it as kiss and flip. So you turn the divider into a times and you flip this fraction here. So turn this and flip this. So now what we're going to do is we're now going to cancel out before we do the multiplying. So I see that x minus 2's can cancel out here. That will simplify our fraction. We'll have x minus 6 cancel out here and here. That will simplify that fraction. We can also cancel out the x plus 6 and the x plus 6 here, because eventually one will end up on the top and one will end up on the bottom when we multiply the tops and bottoms together, so we might as well just cancel them out now. What would that be left with on this one here? That'd be left with a 1, this one will be left with a 1, so we've got nothing else to cancel out, so now we just multiply the tops and multiply the bottoms together. So it's 7 times x, that's 7x. Over multiplying the bottoms together, 1 times 1 is 1. We don't generally write our final answer with a 1 on the bottom of it, so it's just 7x as the answer. And that looks like what they wanted us to write as a final answer. Ax, where a is an integer, so a here is definitely representing 7. Okay, so this is how you divide fractions. You will first factorize them to see if you can cancel anything out and make your answer simpler before doing the whole dividing. So factorize, simplify, and then it's times and flip the second fraction. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Pause the video and give this one a go. Okay, so let's factorize these two here. So the first one will be either a 6x and an x or a 2x and a 3x. So actually I'll move on to the next one to see if I'll get a clue. Moving on to the next one, it's going to be 1 over 2x plus 1 and 2x minus 1. Now what I'm going to assume is that it will cancel out with one of these two brackets here, so it's probably going to be a 3x and an x and a 2x. So that's going to make it a 5, so we might want to put the plus 5 over here, the minus 1 over here, because then I'll make it 10x minus 3x, I'll make it 7x. Lovely. So now that we've factorized, we're going to times and flip the second fraction. Times and flip the second fraction, so it's now going to be 2x plus 1, 2x minus 1 over 1. Let's now see if we can cancel anything out. So it's equals. We can cancel out the 2x minus 1s on the top and the bottom, because eventually one will end up on the top, one factor will end up on the bottom, so we might as well cancel out before timesing. And now we will just times everything together, 2x plus 1, and on the bottom 3x plus 5. So there we are, that's the final answer for this question here. So A is 2, B is 1, C is 3, D is 5. Let's move on to the next question. Pause the video and give this one a go. Okay, so very similar to the one before. So let's now start factorizing. So this is going to be equal to 3 bracket x plus 2. On the denominator here, it's going to be bracket x minus 5, x plus 2. Divided by x plus 5, and then on the bottom here we can factorize into one bracket, x squared minus 25. Let's now factorize that quadratic bracket on the bottom right. So we'll leave everything as it is. And it's going to be x plus 5 over x plus 5, x minus 5. So let's now, we need to now kiss and flip before cancelling out. So don't cancel out yet. So times x bracket x plus 5 x minus 5 over x plus 5. Okay, so now that we're timesing and multiplying, we can now cancel out. So the x plus 2's can cancel out, the x plus 5's can cancel out, the x minus 5's can cancel out diagonally, so we're just left with 3x over 1, which is just 3x. There we are. So save your cancelling for after you've times and flipped the second fraction, okay? There we are. Let's move on to the next one. Pause the video. Oh, we're now on to the adding fraction. So here we are. Difficult question, this one. Pause the video and give this one a go. Okay, so with this question here, we have two different factors on the denominator of these fractions. Let me just remind you how we add fractions together. If we're doing something like 2/3 add 3/5, then we need to create a common denominator. Let's say a common denominator of 15. So what I've done on this one is I've times the denominator of this one by 5. So I'll need to times the numerator by 5 as well. So that will give me 10. And on this one I've times the denominator by 3. And so therefore I need to times the numerator by 3 as well. And that will give me 9. And then I can add the two things together. And you add the numerators, keep the denominators the same. 19 over 15 is the answer. So what we did there was we multiplied, say, the left-hand fraction by 5. That was the denominator of the other fraction. So that's what I'll do with these two questions here. So this question here. So with these two factors, the factors are x and 2 minus x. So that's what I want to create a common denominator of on my two fractions. And then I can add them together. So on the first one, I've multiplied the denominator by 2 minus x. So that's what I'll have to do to the numerator as well. So it's going to be 4 times 2 minus x. And on the second fraction, I've multiplied the denominator by x to turn it into x 2 minus x, because it already had the 2 minus x on it, so it's only been multiplied by an x on the denominator. So that's what I'll need to do to the numerator as well, multiply by x. So it's now going to be 3x on the numerator. So now what I can do is I can now simplify these two fractions together by adding the results. So it's going to be x 2 minus x, and then we can add the numerators. I'm going to expand the left-hand bracket as well as add the numerator. So it's going to be 8 minus 4x. That's what the expansion of the left-hand bracket is. And then add 3x. And now I can simplify this. It's going to be 8 minus x over x 2 minus x. And there we are. That is the answer for this question here. So really important that we created a common denominator on our fractions here. On the first one, I multiplied the denominator by 2 minus x, so I had to times the numerator by 2 minus x. And on the right-hand one, I had to multiply the denominator by x, so I times the numerator by x as well. That created a common denominator of the factors x and 2 minus x, and then we just added the numerators together, expanding any brackets. Right then, so there we are. That's the basics of adding algebraic fractions together. Let's move on to this question here. Pause the video and give this one a go. Okay, so with this one here, it looks a little bit more challenging. What I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to factorize first to see what factors I already have on my denominators. So it's going to be 2x plus 6 minus x minus 15 over, this one's going to factorize into x minus 6, x plus 4. Okay, so on both of my fractions I already have, so let's make it, so x minus 8, x minus 8, and x plus 6. There we are, that's better, that's the right factorization on the right one. So on both of my denominators, I already have the x plus 6 factor, so I don't need to do any more on that. But what I don't have on the left-hand one is an x minus 8. So on the left-hand fraction, I've put the x minus 8 on the denominator, so I'll have to also put it on the numerator. And on the second part, I haven't got the 2. So I'm going to have to put the 2 on the denominator. 2x plus 6, x minus 8. And it's going to be 2 brackets x minus 15. So you can see now I've got a common denominator, set of common denominators between the two fractions. X plus 6 was already in common between the two. On the left hand one I needed to multiply by x minus 8, and on the right hand one I needed to multiply by 2, and now they all have common denominators. So now what I'm going to do is I'm now going to just subtract the numerators. I'm going to expand the brackets as well, so it's going to be 3x minus 24 minus 2x, and this is where students accidentally make a mistake on a double negative, minus 30, because when I expand the 2 and the minus 15 that will make minus 30, and I've got to subtract it. So it's actually going to be plus 30 on this one. It's a double negative on the minus 30. All over 2 bracket x plus 6, x minus 8. So let's simplify our final answer now. 3x minus 2x is x, and minus 24 add 30 is add 6. Oh, so it looks like we could probably simplify at the end of this. So that is what I thought would be my final answer, but actually if you look a bit closely, what we could do is we could cancel out a factor of x plus 6 on the top and bottom here. So actually my final answer is going to be 1 over 2 bracket x minus 8. So there we are, that is our simplified fractional answer here. Very difficult question that, hopefully you kept up. Maybe we'll have a go at the next one, having seen how to do this one here. So there we are, this is the answer for this question here. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Pause the video and give this one a go. Okay, so this one is very similar to the one before. So we have to create a common denominator here. The common denominator is going to be x and x plus 3. On the left-hand one, I need to multiply the denominator by x plus 3. So to keep the fraction equivalent, I need to multiply the top by x plus 3. On the second fraction, I need to make it 1 over, it's going to be x plus 3. But I've multiplied the denominator by x, so I need to multiply the numerator by x as well. So x on the top there. Okay, so now that I've made my common denominator of x plus 3, I can now subtract my fractions. It's going to be 2x plus 6 and minus x. So simplifying this final answer is going to be x plus 6 over x bracket x plus 3. And there we are, that's how we that's how we subtract fractions. Okay, and that's in its simplest form. There's no way of simplifying this even more. Okay, let's move on to the next one then. Pause the video and give this one a go. Okay, so this one is very similar to the second of these subtracting fractions ones we've done. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to factorize my fraction to see what common factors I already have in play. And this one is going to be x minus 3, x minus 1. So in this question here, I already have a common factor of x minus 3 on both my denominators. On the left-hand one, I need to make the denominator 2, x minus 3, and the only thing I don't have on the left-hand fraction that is on the right-hand fraction is x minus 1. So I'll need to put that on the bottom and on the top. On the right-hand fraction, the only thing I don't have is I've got an x minus 3, I've got my x minus 1, I don't have a 2, so I need to multiply the bottom by 2 and the top by 2. Okay, so now that I've got a common denominator, I'll write that common denominator, keep it the same, and now I'm going to simplify the numerators. So it's going to be 5x minus 5 minus 2x and minus the 4. Remember, we are taking away all of this right hand side. All of this bit here, we're taking it away. Taking all of it away. Okay, so now we can simplify. 5x minus 2x is 3x. Minus 5 minus 4 is minus 9. And on the denominator it would be 2x minus 3, x minus 1. Now actually what I can spot here is actually if I factorize my numerator, it would be 3x minus 3 over 2 bracket x minus 3, x minus 1. This is very similar to 2 questions ago. I can cancel out now the x minus 3 as a factor on the top and the bottom, so my simplified final answer is 3 over 2 x minus 1. And there we are, that is the answer to this question here. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Pause the video and give this question a go. Okay, so with this question here, we're going to create common denominators first. It's always the first step with these kind of questions here. X plus 2 and 2x plus 5 will be the common denominator on both of them, so let's just write that out. Okay, so the first one already has the denominator of x plus 2, but it doesn't have the denominator of 2x plus 5, so I'll need to multiply it on my numerator instead. And on the next one it's going to be 6 and x plus 2. So let's expand the brackets now and put it all over one common denominator. X plus 2, 2x plus 5. Now this is a subtracting fractions question, so I'm going to subtract all of this right hand fraction. So it's going to be 6x plus 15 minus 6x and minus 12. Subtract all of that right hand fraction. So actually what's going to happen here is the 6x with 2 will cancel out, and it'll be 15 minus 12 is 3 over x plus 2, 2x plus 5. And there we are, that's the answer for this question. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Pause the video and give this one a go. Okay, so in this question here we want to create common denominators. The factors of x plus 1 and x minus 1 are separate factors, so we're just going to have to write the denominators like this. And on the first fraction, we already have the factor of x plus 1 on the bottom. We don't have x minus 1, so we have to multiply the top and the bottom by x minus 1. And on the second one, it's going to be 2 bracket x plus 1. So I already have the factor of x minus 1, so I've created the x plus 1s on the numerator and the denominator for the right hand one. So now that we have the common denominator, it will be x plus 1, x minus 1. And on the numerator, it's going to be 3x minus 3, and it's then going to be subtract all of that right-hand fraction there, subtract 2x, and subtract 2. So it's going to be 3x minus 2x is x, minus 3 minus 2 is minus 5, over x plus 1, x minus 1. And there we are, that is our fully simplified answer. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Pause the video and give this one a go. Well, this one is really similar to the one before, so I really hope you can do this one if you've seen the question before. So it's going to be common denominators of x minus 1, x plus 1, minus another fraction with x minus 1, x plus 1 on the denominator. So on the left hand one, it's going to be 4. We already have x minus 1, so it's going to be x plus 1. And the right hand one, it's going to be 3, x minus 1, because I already have the plus 1 on the bottom of the right hand one. So let's expand the brackets and put it all over our common denominator, because now we can subtract our fractions. And remember, it's going to be subtracting all of that right-hand fraction. So it's going to be 4x plus 4, subtract 3x, and it'll be a double negative on this next bit, minus 3, that'll be plus 3. So let's now simplify this. It'll be x plus 7 over x minus 1, x plus 1. And there we are, that's our simplified answer. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Pause the video and give this one a go. Okay, so for this one here we need common denominators. So the common denominator we're going to need here is x minus 4, x minus 3, minus x minus 4, x minus 3. For our numerator on the left-hand one, it's going to be x plus 3 that's already there, and the extra factor we need for the left-hand one is x minus 3. On the right-hand one, it's going to be x plus 4 that was already there, and the new factor is going to be x minus 4. So what we'll now do is we'll write this as a common fraction with x minus 4, x minus 3 as our denominator. And we now expand the bracket, so it'll be x squared plus 3x minus 3x, that would be no x's, and minus 9. And we're going to subtract all of this right-hand fraction. So it's going to be subtract x squared, it'll be plus 4x and minus 4x, which will cancel out x's, and it'll be minus 16, but it'll be minus 16, so double negative, so it'll be plus 16. In this question, the x squareds cancel out, and we'll be left with minus 9 add 16, so that'll make it 7 over x minus 4, x minus 3. And there we are, that is our simplified answer for this question here. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Pause the video and give this one a go. Alright, this question seems a little bit out of order. It actually seems easier than the ones we've just done. So the common denominator we want to make here is 6. Common denominator out of 2 and 3 is 6. So what do I need to times the left-hand one by? Well, that would be 3, x minus 3. And the right-hand one, I need to multiply that numerator by 2, 2x plus 4. Okay, so let's now expand the brackets and put it all over 6, making sure that I subtract all of that right-hand fraction. So it's going to be 3x minus 9, minus 2x, and minus 8. So it's going to be x minus 17 all over 6. And there we are, that's the answer for this question. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Pause the video. Oh, tricky. Three fractions here. Pause the video and give this one a go. Right, so this one is a very tricky one. What we've got here is we've got 3 fractions, and all 3 factors are going to need to appear on our common denominator. So we have 3 factors here, x, x minus 2, and x plus 1. All 3 of these factors need to appear on our denominator. So each fraction needs to have all 3 factors on the denominator. Let's do the last one now. Okay, so let's have a look at the first one then. The first one has a 3 on its numerator already, but what doesn't it have on the denominator? Well, it already had x plus 1, but it didn't have these 2 bits here, so I'm going to write x and x minus 2. On the middle one, it already had a 1, but it already had the x minus 2 on its denominator, so now it has a new x and a new x plus 1. And on the last bit here, it already had the 4, and now it's got a new x plus 1 and x minus 2. Okay, so now that all of these fractions have the same denominator, I'm now going to write it all over, and I reckon it will be a big long thing here, x plus 1, x minus 2. So we're now going to add or subtract these fractions together. Let's expand as we go along. So it's going to be 3x squared minus 6x plus x squared plus x. Now be really careful with this one because we're going to subtract all of this bit here. So it's going to be subtract 4x squared. It's going to be minus 2x plus x, so that'll be minus x, but times that by 4, so that'll make it minus 4x, but I'm subtracting it, so that'll make it plus 4x as the next one, and then it'll make it minus 8, but I'm subtracting it, so that'll make it plus 8. Okay, so there we are. So now we'll simplify. 3x squared, x squared, and minus 4x squared, well, that will just cancel out. Minus 6x plus x plus 4x, so that'll make it minus x, and plus 8. And that will all be over x, x plus 1, x minus 2. And there we are, that's the final answer for this question here. So tricky one, this one. When you've got three fractions that need adding or subtracting from each other, all three fractions have to have a common denominator, and it will get a little bit messy on the top of your fraction when you simplify, but there we are, here is the answer. Some good marks for that. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Pause the video and give this one a go. Right, okay, this one is a bit of a difficult question here because we've got this 2 at the front. These two fractions here are fine, we could add and subtract these fractions here. What I want you to do, when you get a question like this, treat the 2 as a fraction of 2 over 1. And now we've got all three fractions. So let's now get the question started. We need common denominators for all three of our fractions here, so it's going to be 1, x minus 3 and x plus 3. We don't really need to write the 1, do we? X minus 3 and x plus 3 is our factors. Next one's minus x minus 3, x plus 3. And the last one's also a minus x minus 3, x plus 3. Okay, so on the first one it's going to be 2 because 2 is already there, and we need to multiply by our common factors, x minus 3 and x plus 3. On the next one, the factor of x plus 2 was already there. On the denominator, x minus 3 was already there as well, so the new factor on this fraction is x plus 3. And on the last one, it's going to be x plus 3 was our common factor already, x minus 6 was on the numerator already as well, so it's going to be x minus 3 as the new factor on our numerator on the third one. Okay, so common factor now of, it's going to be a big long thing here, we're expanding, x minus 3, x plus 3. So let's expand our brackets, it's going to be 2x squared, minus 3x plus 3x, so that'll be no x's in the middle of that one, and it'll be minus 9, but times it by 2, minus 18. On the next one, it's going to be subtract all of this next fraction here, so we subtract x squared. When we expand the brackets here, we get 2x and 3x, that'll be 5x, so that'll be subtract 5x. And 2 times 3 is 6, but subtract it, minus 6. I'm running out of space already here. On the next one, it's subtract as well. So it'll be take away x squared. On the x's, it'll be minus 6x minus 3x. That'll be minus 9x in total, but we're subtracting it, so double negative plus 9x. And on the last bit, it'll be minus 6 times minus 3. That'll be positive 18, but minus it, that'll be minus 18 then. Right, so let's now simplify our answer here. We want our denominator. The question wants the denominator with x squared minus 9 on the denominator, and that's fine. If we expand the denominator, we do get that. So we're on track for that denominator. But let's now simplify the numerator. We've got 2x squared, a minus x squared, and a minus x squared, so that will cancel out. We have a minus 18, a minus 6, and another minus 18. So that will give us minus 36, minus 42. And on our x's, we have minus 5x and plus 9x, that would be 4x. So there we are, this is our final answer here. It's 4x minus 42 over x squared minus 9. Lovely, difficult question this one. So just a reminder of what we did at the start. To get an in for this question, it's treat the 2 as a fraction of 2 over 1. And you have to do that in quite a few different kind of problems here. If you want to multiply fractions together like 2 times 3/4, sometimes easier to treat the 2 as a 2 over 1 and then do top times top, bottom times bottom, 6 over 4 is your answer. So yeah, so it's sometimes helpful to think of whole numbers as that number over 1 as a fraction. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Whoa, difficult question this one. Pause the video and give this one a go. Okay, let's do the inside of this bracket here first. So it's going to be x plus 5 divided by this fraction here. So treat the x plus 5 as x plus 5 over 1. And we're going to divide it by this fraction here. Well, first let's factorize it. So it's going to be x plus 5, x minus 2 over x minus 1. The way we divide fractions is we flip. So this is going to be equal to x plus 5 over 1 divided by, and then we multiply, but flip the second fraction upside down. So it's x minus 1 over x plus 5, x minus 2. So the next thing to do is simplify it. So we can simplify the x plus 5 and the x plus 5 here. And then multiply top times top, bottom times bottom. It's going to be x minus 1 over x minus 2. So there we are. That is what the inside bracket is equal to. So now our question is 6 plus x minus 1 over x minus 2. What I'm going to do with this 6 is treat it as 6 over 1. So I can create common denominators on my fractions. So it's going to be 6 x minus 2 over x minus 2. We're creating a common denominator here of x minus 2 on our denominators here. So now x minus 2 is the common denominator. And expand the bracket, 6x minus 12 plus x plus 1, sorry, minus 1, and it's therefore going to be 7x minus 13 over x minus 2. And there we are, so A is 7, B is 13, C is 1, and D is 2. So there we are, that's our final answer for this one here. So what we did with this one was we did this calculation here first, the inside of the square bracket first, remembering our rules for dividing fractions, and then we added in the 6 by treating 6 as 6 over 1, and then creating a common denominator again and adding our fractions together. So there we are, that's the answer for this one. Let's move on to the next one, pause the video and give this one a go. Okay, so we've just seen how to do this one from the video, from the question before. So we'll do the inside of this bracket here first, and then we'll do 4 minus this answer. So it's going to be x plus 3 over 1, we'll treat that as over 1, divided by, let's factorize it, x plus 3, x plus 2, over x minus 2. To divide a fraction, you multiply it, and flip the second fraction, x minus 2 over x plus 3 times x plus 2. The next thing we do before we multiply, we should simplify our answer. So it's going to be x plus 3's will cancel on top and bottom, and then we multiply, that's going to turn into a 1 on that numerator there, 1 times x minus 2 over x plus 2. So this bit inside the bracket now is just x minus 2 over x plus 2. So now we're going to do 4 minus this answer here, x minus 2 over x plus 2. We're going to treat the 4 as 4 over 1. So So now we want to create common denominators. So the common denominator is just going to be x plus 2 on the bottom of both. X plus 2 on the bottom of both there. So on the left-hand one, it's going to be 4 lots of x plus 2. And on the right-hand one, it's just the same fraction. Now remember, it's subtracting all of this right-hand fraction here. So it's going to be over x plus 2, 4x plus 8 minus x, and plus 2 for the double negative on the minus and the minus 2. So the answer is going to be 3x plus 10 over x plus 2. And there we are, that's the final answer for this question here. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Pause the video and give this one a go. Okay, so a good question here to get the ball rolling is, do we do the subtract first or do we do the divide first? Well, how do we know what order we should do our operations in? Well, we follow the order of operations. BODMAS. B for brackets first, so we've got some brackets there. Order, which is powers, so there's no real powers here. Then it's BOD, D for divide, so we do the divide first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split my question up into do this divide first, and then I'll do 5 minus the answer. So it's going to be x plus 2. I'm going to treat the x plus 2 as x plus 2 over 1, divided by, now I'm going to factorize the top here, x plus 2, x minus 2, over x minus 3. So how do you divide fractions? You times and flip the second one. So times and flip the second one, kiss and flip. So it'd be x plus 2, x minus 2. Right, so cancel out the x plus 2's on top and bottom, so we're left with just a fraction of 1 over 1 on the left, so it's just going to be a final answer of x minus 3 over x minus 2. So that's what 5 needs to subtract. So now the next part of the calculation is 5 subtract x minus 3 over x minus 2. Now with this 5, I'm going to treat this 5 as 5 over 1. So now I'm treating this as two fractions. I need to create a common denominator. So it's going to be x minus 2 on the bottom of both. On the right-hand one, nothing's real changed about the right-hand one, but on the left-hand one, it's going to be 5 times this new denominator of x minus 2. Let's write our common factor of x minus 2 on the denominator and expand the bracket. So it's going to be 5x minus 10. And we're going to subtract all of this right-hand fraction here. So it's going to be subtract x and subtract the minus 3. So that'll make it plus 3. So the next step will be to simplify. It'll be 4x minus 7 over x minus 2. And there we are. That's the final answer for this question here. So make sure you do your divide before your subtract. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Pause the video and give this one a go. Yeah, this one again seems a little bit out of order because this one's quite an easy one really, isn't it? It's just 15 as our common denominator. So on the left-hand one, we're going to need to multiply the numerator on this one by 3. And on the numerator of this one, we need to multiply it by 5. So we'll expand the brackets. 3x plus 9 plus 5x minus 10. And that's all going to be over 15. So now we'll simplify it, it'll be 8x minus 1 over 15. These questions seem very simple now that we've just done those previous hard ones, but there we are, that's how we simplify these fractions. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Oh, we have a algebraic equation here, so we need to do the addition on the left-hand side first, and then solve it equal to 7 on the right-hand side. So pause the video and give this one a go. Right then, so what we're going to do is we're going to add the fractions on the left-hand side and then we're going to set it to 7. So let's just concentrate on the left-hand side first. We need a common factor, so we need a common denominator of 12. So we'll create a common denominator of 12 on both fractions. On the left-hand one, we need to multiply by 4. And on the right hand one we need to multiply by 3. So let's now expand the brackets and write this all over 12. So it's going to be 4x plus 16 plus 6x plus 9. And simplify it, so that'll make it 10x plus 25 over 12. So therefore we now have the fraction 10x plus 25 over 12 equals 7. Okay, so now we're going to times both sides by 12. That will cancel out the 12 on the left hand side, so that will leave us with 10x plus 25 equals 7 times 12 is 84. Let's subtract 25 from both sides. So that would be 10x equals, take away 579, 69, 59. So x is going to equal 59 over 10, or 5.9. And there we are, that's the answer to this question here. So we added the fractions together first, and then we solved it equal to 7. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Pause the video and give this one a go. Okay, so same as the one before, add the fractions together and then we'll set it equal to 2. So we want a common denominator here of 20 for both of our fractions. On the left hand one we'll need to multiply it by 5, and on the right hand one we'll need to multiply it by 4. So let's now put the two together. So 10x minus 5 plus 4x minus 4. And that will all be over 20. And let's simplify it together. 14x minus 9 over 20. Right, so now that we have simplified the left-hand fraction, we can now set 14x minus 9 over 20 equal to 2. So let's multiply both sides by 20. So that'll make it 40. Add 9 to both sides. So that'll make it 14x equals 49. And divide through by 14, that'll make it 49 over 14. And I think you can cancel out a factor of 7 on the top and bottom here. So that's going to make it 7 over 2. So there we are. 7 over 2 is the answer for x. We've solved this equation. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Pause the video and give this one a go. Okay, similar to the one before then, we're going to make a common denominator of 15. So on both fractions, we'll make it 15 on the denominator. On the first one, we need to multiply the top and bottom by 3 to make that happen. And on the right-hand one, we'll have to multiply top and bottom by 5 to make that happen. Moving on to the next line, expand the brackets. 9x plus 3 minus, it's going to be subtract all of this second bracket here. So it's going to be subtract 5x and subtract minus 20. So that will be add 20. Double negative there. And let's simplify it together. 4x plus 23 over 50. So let's now set this fraction equal to 2. So 4x plus 23 over 15 equals 2. Now we'll multiply both sides by 15. Multiply by 15. So that'll make it 4x plus 23 equals 30. And then we'll subtract 23 onto the other side. So that'll make it 7. And then divide through by 4. So that'll make it 7 over 4. And lovely, there we are. That's the answer to this question here. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Pause the video and give this one a go. Oh, this one looks tricky. Right, so in this question here we're going to need slightly more difficult common denominator. We're going to need a common denominator of x minus 2 and x plus 1 on both the fractions. I'm going to sort out the fraction first on the left, and then we're going to set it equal to 1 afterwards. So on the left hand one, we already have x minus 2 on the denominator, so we're going to need to introduce a new x plus 1 on top and bottom to create a common denominator. And on the right hand one, it's going to be 6 lots of x minus 2 to create the common denominator. Let's now expand the brackets and put this all together. Now that we have a common denominator, we can subtract the fractions. So it's going to be 6x plus 6, and then it's going to be subtract all of this second fraction here, so it's going to be subtract 6x, and then it's going to be add 12 from the double negative. So simplifying this, it's going to give us 18 over x minus 2, x plus 1. Right, so that's step 1 done. Now we need to set the equation equal to 1. So it's going to be 18 over x minus 2, x plus 1 equals 1. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to multiply by the denominator onto the other side. Just like we did with the previous one, if I show you going backwards, we took the denominator and multiplied it onto the other side by multiplying by both sides by 15. So it's coming back to this one. I'm going to move all of this stuff here onto the other side by multiplying both sides by it. So it's going to be multiply by x minus 2, x plus 1. Okay, so it's going to equal 18 equals 1 times this, and that would just be itself. X minus 2, x plus 1. Okay, so now we need to solve this equation. It's a quadratic equation, so we'll need to expand the brackets and move everything onto the same side. So it'll be x squared. I'm expanding the brackets now. X squared minus 2x plus another x, that would be minus x and minus 2. Let's now subtract 18 onto the right hand side, so it would be x squared minus x minus 20. And now we need to solve this quadratic equation here. We could solve it by factorizing, I reckon. So if I do x minus 5 and x plus 4, then that will leave me with two answers, because I've got two brackets that will multiply to make a 0. The only way I could do that is if each of the brackets equals 0. So therefore, if x is 5, that will make the first bracket equal 0. And if I do x equals minus 4, that will make the second bracket equal 0. So there we have it. Two answers for this question here. Very difficult question. This one we have subtracting algebraic fractions, and then we have solving an algebraic equation. So very difficult, that one. Very well done if you made some progress on that. But don't worry if you didn't. I've shown you now how to do it, and maybe we'll get it next time. So let's move on to the next one. Pause the video and give this one a go. Right then, so we're moving back to these sorts of questions where we've got a number on the denominator, a bit easier. So we'll do 21 and 21. And for the left hand one, it's going to be multiplied top and bottom by 3 to make that 21. And on the right hand one, it's going to be multiplied by 7 to make that 21. Okay, so now we'll expand the brackets and put these two fractions together. In fact, we'll just ignore the 2 for now. So that's going to equal 6w minus 9 plus 14w minus 35 all over 21. Let's now group these together. It will be 20w minus 44 over 21. Okay, so let's now set this fraction equal to 2, so it would be 20w minus 44 over 21 equals 2. Okay, so next thing to do will be to multiply the 21 onto the other side, so multiply by 21. That will give us 20w minus 44 equals 42. Let's add 44 onto the right hand side now. So that make it 20w equals 86. And the last thing we'll do here is we'll divide by the 20, so that's going to give us w equals 86 over 20. Now we could probably simplify this, cancel down a factor of 2, so that'll make it 43 over 10. So as a decimal, that would be 4.3. Okay, so there we are. Both of those answers are good there. There we are. That's how we answer this question here. Common denominator, add your fractions, and then solve equal to 2. Let's move on to the next one. Pause the video and give this one a go. Okay, so with this question here, we need to make it a common denominator of 12 for both fractions. On the first one, we need to multiply by 4, so it'd be 4 lots of 5x minus 2. And on the second one, we need to multiply by 3, 3 lots of 3 minus 5x. And then we'll expand the brackets, so that'd be 20x minus 8 plus 9 minus 15x over 12. And then let's simplify this, that'll make it 5x plus 1 over 12. Let's now set this equation equal to 2. So multiply both sides by 12, that'll make it 5x plus 1 equals 24. Subtract the 1 onto the other side, that'll make it 5x equals 23. And then divide by 5, that'll make it 23 over 5. And you can just leave your answer like this. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Pause the video and give this one a go. Okay, well this one's a difficult one, but I'll show you the little shortcut you can do with this one. The common factor you'd probably want to create for this question here would be 6x on the denominator, 6x on both denominators, because all I would need to do on the left-hand one would be to multiply the top by 2. And on the right-hand one, all I'd need to do is multiply the top by 3. And that would give me my common denominator. Now I'll expand the brackets, 2x plus 4 plus 3x minus 6 all over 6x. And now we'll simplify this, that would be 5x minus 2 over 6x. Okay, what we're now going to do is now we're going to set this equation equal to 3, so it would be 5x minus 2 over 6x equals 3. So we'll multiply the 6x onto the other side, so that'll make it 5x minus 2 equals 18x. Now we're going to need to rearrange this, so we'll take away the 5x onto the right hand side, so that'll make it minus 2 equals 13x. And then divide by 13, that make it minus 2 over 13 equals x. And there we are, that's the answer for this question here. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Oh, back to one of these more difficult, longer quadratic ones. Pause the video and give this one a go. Right, so there's not much you can do with the common denominator here to make it an easy one. It is going to be a difficult one. It's going to have to be x plus 2, x minus 3 on your denominators. X plus 2, x minus 3. So, what value do we need to times the numerator of the left-hand one by? But we already have the x plus 2, so we'll need to multiply it by x minus 3. And on the right-hand one, it's going to be 4 times x plus 2. Okay, so let's now put this all over one common denominator. And expand the bracket, so it's going to be, no, not 3x, 3x minus 9 plus 4x plus 8. And let's simplify that, that will make it 7x minus 1 over x plus 2, x minus 3. Right, so we've added the two fractions together now. Now we need to solve this equal to 2. So it's going to be 7x minus 1 over x plus 2, x minus 3 equals 2. Now to move this stuff onto the other side, we need to multiply it onto the other side. So I'm now going to multiply both sides by x plus 2, x minus 3. So that's going to leave me with 7x minus 1 on the left, and that's going to equal 2 lots of x plus 2, x minus 3. So the way I'm going to expand now the left-hand side, so the right-hand side, I'm going to leave the 2 at the front, and I'm going to multiply out the brackets. And that's going to give me x squared minus x minus 6. And then I'll expand with the 2 afterwards, so that'll make it 2x squared minus 2x minus 12. Now this is a quadratic equation. It's got an x squared in it, an x and a number in it, so I need to make one side equal 0. I'm going to move everything onto the right hand side for this one, so it'll be 2x squared. I need to take away 7x and add the 1, so that's going to make it minus 9x and minus 11. Now I need to solve this. I'll try my best to put it into some brackets. It's a difficult one though. It's going to need the 2x at the front and an x at the front of this one. And if I put minus 11 here and plus 1 here, then that will give me minus 11x plus 2x, which will make minus 9x in total. So therefore for this bracket it's going to be x equals 11 over 2. And for this bracket here, it's going to be x equals minus 1. Okay, so there we are. So what we needed for that last bit was just what value of x will make that bracket equal 0. So when x is 11 divided by 2, the 2's will cancel and there'll be 11 and minus 11. So that's the answer for the first bracket. And then for this bracket here, if x is minus 1, minus 1 plus 1 is 0. So that's the answer for the second bracket. Very difficult question, this one. Very well done if you made some good progress on this. Add your fractions together, set it equal to 2. You've now identified at this point here, you've got yourself a quadratic equation. You need to expand all your brackets and move everything onto the same side and then solve your quadratic equation. Alright, let's move on to the next one. Pause the video and give this one a go. Okay, so in this question we have two algebraic fractions that are equivalent. Maybe a good starting point would be to make them over the same denominator, because then we can compare them. So if we make them both over 12, then on the left hand one we'd be multiplying by 4, and on the right hand one we'd be multiplying by 3. And if we expand the brackets, that would be 8y plus 4 over 12 equals 3y minus 6 over 12. Now if we've got two fractions that are equal to each other with 12 on the bottom, then it must be the case that the numerators are equal to each other. So it must be 8y plus 4 equals 3y minus 6. The algebraic manoeuvre that we've done to both sides here is to just multiply both sides by 12, and that will get rid of the divide by 12 on both sides. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract the 3y onto the left hand side. That will make it 5y. And then subtract the 4 onto the other side, so that'll make it minus 10. So therefore y equals minus 2 is the answer to this question here. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Pause the video and give this one a go. Back to these tricky ones. Okay, so with this tricky one here, we need to make it a common denominator of x plus 1, 2x minus 3 on the denominator of both of them. And on the top of the left-hand fraction, we've already got the x plus 1 on the denominator, so we would have to have multiplied by 2x minus 3. And on the right-hand one, we already have the 2 there, but we don't have an x plus 1 on the original one, so we've had to multiply it by top and bottom to make the denominators equivalent. Let's expand the brackets now. It'll be 6x minus 9 plus 2x plus 2 all over x plus 1, 2x minus 3. So let's now simplify these fractions together. So that would be 8x minus 7 over x plus 1, 2x minus 3. Right, so now that we've done that, this fraction will now be equal to 1. We've simplified the fraction, 8x minus 7 over x plus 1, 2x minus 3 equals 1. So now what we're going to do is move the denominator onto the other side by multiplying it onto the other side. So it'll be multiply now by x plus 1, 2x minus 3. So that's going to give me 8x minus 7 equals x plus 1, 2x minus 3. The next step is to now identify that at this point here we have a quadratic equation on our hands. So we need to expand the brackets and move everything onto the same side. So expanding the right hand side, I get 2x squared. That would be minus 3x plus 2x, that would be minus x, and then minus 3. The next thing I need to do is move everything onto the same side. So I'm going to leave nothing behind on the left. I'm going to subtract 8x. And I'm going to add 7. So it's going to be 2x squared minus 9x, and then add 7, that will give me a plus 4. So I'll do my best now to factorize and solve this. You've also got the quadratic formula you could use for this if you've seen how to do that already. That would be minus 4 on this side and minus 1 on this side. That'll make it minus 8 and minus another 1, so that'll be minus 9. So for this bracket to equal 0, x needs to equal 1/2. And for this bracket to equal 0, x needs to equal 4. And there we are. These are the two answers for this question here. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Pause the video and give this one a go. Right then, so let's get started on this one then. So we're looking to create a common denominator on our two fractions here, x plus 2 and x minus 2. On the first one, we'll need to multiply top and bottom by x minus 2 to make that common denominator. And on the second one, the common denominator of x plus 2, x minus 2, we need to multiply that 9 by x plus 2. That will give them common denominators. Let's expand the brackets now. 5x minus 10 plus 9x plus 18. And that's now going to be over x plus 2, x minus 2. Okay, let's now put this together. It's going to be 14x plus 8 over x plus 2, x minus 2. Okay, so now let's set this fraction equal to 2. So it's going to be 14x plus 8 over x plus 2, x minus 2 equals 2. Now to move this denominator onto the other side, we're going to multiply it onto the other side. So multiply now both sides by x plus 2, x minus 2. So it's going to be 14x plus 8 equals 2 times these two brackets here. Now at this point here, you need to identify you've got yourself a quadratic equation, which means you need to expand all the brackets and move everything onto the same side. So I'll just do that on the right hand side first. If I expand the brackets, it's going to give me x squared minus 2x plus 2x, so the x's will cancel and then it'll be minus 4. And the next thing I need to do is expand the 2, and that will give me 2x squared minus 8. Okay, let's move everything onto the same side now, so it'll be 2x squared minus 14x. And if I take away the 8 as well, that'll give me minus 16. So let's divide everything by 2 because I can. X squared minus 7x minus 8. And now let's factorize. It's going to be x minus 8, x plus 1. And now we need the value of x that will make the bracket equal 0, x equals 8, and x equals minus 1. So there we are, that's the answer for this equation here. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Pause the video and give this one a go. Okay, so the factorization for the first quadratic is going to be 2x plus 1, 2x minus 1. What I did here was effectively I square rooted this bit here and put them into some brackets, and then square rooted the 1 and put a plus and a minus on it. And then if you expand it, you'll get 4x squared plus 2x minus 2x, so those two will cancel, and then the 1 times the minus 1 is minus 1. Okay, so how is that helpful for part B? Well, what I could do on the denominator of the second fraction is I could rewrite it as 1 over 2x plus 1, 2x minus 1. And what I'll then identify from there is that on the denominator of the left-hand fraction, if I'm solving this, all I need to do is times top and bottom by 2x minus 1, and I'll then give myself a common denominator between the two fractions. 2x plus 1, 2x minus 1, plus 1 over 2x plus 1, 2x minus 1. And that will then equal 3. So my equation is going to be 8x minus 4 plus 1, so that'll make it minus 3, over 2x plus 1, 2x minus 1 equals 3. Okay, so let's now solve this. I need to move this right-hand stuff onto the, so left-hand stuff onto the right. So the left-hand denominator, I'm going to be multiplying by 2x plus 1 and 2x minus 1. So that's going to give me 8x minus 3 equals 3 lots of 2x plus 1, 2x minus 1. So now I've identified, I've got myself a quadratic equation. So I need to expand everything and move everything onto the same side. So it's going to be 3 lots of 4x squared minus 1. And I'll expand the brackets with the 3 as well. So it'll be 12x squared minus 3. Okay, let's now move everything onto the same side. So I'll be subtracting an 8x and adding a 3 to both sides. So that will be 0 equals 12x squared minus 8x. And then the plus 3's to both sides will cancel these 3's out. I'll divide everything by 4 at this stage just to make my life easier. 3x squared minus 2x. Now I need to solve this. So the way I need to do this is by factorizing. I'll check one bracket factorization first. So yes, I can do a one bracket factorization. X bracket 3x minus 2. And therefore, I've got two expressions, this one and this one, that will multiply together to make 0. So I need to choose x equals 0 as one of my values to multiply to make a 0, or x equals 2/3, and that will be the value for x that will make the right hand bracket equals 0 down the bottom here. If it's 2/3, that will make it 0 in the bracket, which we'll need to multiply by whatever x is to make 0 as well. So these are my two answers here. There we are, difficult question this one. So factorizing, adding fractions together, solving a quadratic equation, and a difficult one where you have to do a one bracket factorize rather than a two bracket factorize, because we've done so many two bracket factorizes, you're probably used to it. This one here was a one bracket factorize with x at the front, so therefore x is 0, and in the bracket 3x minus 2, so that makes it 2/3 for x. Okay, let's move on to the next one, pause the video and give this one a go. Okay, so not much of an equation, it's just make y the subject of the formula. So in this question we are going to need to add together these fractions, so it's going to be y over the common denominator will be x, x plus 4. So the y is also going to need to multiply it by x plus 4. And for the second part, it's going to be 2y over, the common denominator will be x, x plus 4, so then that will have to multiply by x. Okay, let's now multiply these out and add them together. So the common denominator is going to be x bracket x plus 4, and it's going to be xy plus 4y plus 2xy. So I can simplify my xy's together. I've got 3xy's in total plus 4y equals x plus 4. Okay, so now this fraction here, 3xy plus 4y is going to be, so it's going to divide by x plus 4 to make 3. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move all the denominator onto the right hand side by multiplying by it. So I'm going to multiply by x plus 4. So it's therefore going to give me 3xy plus 4y equals 3x plus 4. So that's moving this denominator onto the right hand side. Now we need to make y the subject. I think what I'll do here is I'll factorize y. Now make it 3x bracket x plus 4. And then divide by this bracket here. So I'm going to divide that onto the other side. So it's going to be y equals 3x x plus 4 divided by 3x plus 4. And there's nothing we can simplify there. It looks like we might be able to. We've got 3's and 4's there, but actually there's no common factor between the two denominators and numerators there. So there we are. That's the answer for this equation here. A little bit tricky on that one. A type of question that we've not seen before, make y the subject, but there we are. Lovely question. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Pause the video and give this one a go. Okay, so let's get started on doing the first bit first. I've removed the second bit just to give me a bit more space for the first bit. So we'll do the left-hand side. So we're trying to show that the left-hand side will equal the right-hand side. So on the left-hand side, we have x plus 1 over 2x plus 1. We need a common denominator between our two fractions here. So we also need an extra x plus 1 on this denominator. So we'll need to multiply the top by x plus 1 as well. And then it's going to be minus 1 over 2x plus 1, x plus 1. Okay, so let's expand so we'll write this as one common fraction now that they have common denominators. And it's going to be x squared plus 2x plus 1, and then minus the 1 on the right fraction. And simplify this, it will be x squared plus 2x over 2x plus 1, x plus 1. And there we are, that's equal to the right hand side. You can abbreviate right hand side to RHS if you wish to. Okay, so now that we know that these two fractions subtracted equal the right-hand fraction, we need to now show that this thing here, or solve this thing on the left-hand side, will equal the right-hand side. And what I can do is I can use from part A, it will be x squared plus 2x over 2x plus 1, x plus 1, equals the right-hand side 1 over 2x plus 1, x plus 1. So we've got the same denominators on these, so it must be the case that if the fractions are equal and the denominators are equal, that the numerators must also be equal as well. So therefore, x squared plus 2x equals 1. So I've corrected 3 significant figures, so it probably means we're going to need the quadratic formula at some point. So subtract the 1 onto the other side, and now go for your calculator. And let's now use the quadratic formula, so that value for A is going to be 1, B is going to be 2, and C is going to be minus 1. So it's going to be x equals minus 2 plus or minus the square root of B squared. That would be 4 minus 4 times A times C. 1 times C, that's minus 1, over 2A, that would just be over 2. So therefore we get two answers. That will be 0.414. That's the 3 significant figures. And the next one, just change the plus for a minus, minus 2.414. No, minus 2.414. 1, and both of those are to 3 significant figures. And there we are, that's the answer to this question here. And we have one final question to go then. It's this question here, very tricky question here, appeared on quite a recent paper actually, so pause the video and we'll give this one a go. Right, so very well done if you've given this a good go. Hopefully you've really persevered through this. It's going to be 1 minus a, which is on the top of the fraction 2x plus 1, plus 1 over b, that's 3x minus 2, all over a, that's again 2x plus 1, plus 1 over c, plus 1 over c. That's that. Okay, so what we need to do is first sort out the top and sort out the bottom. So on the top, we're going to need to create a common denominator. So it's going to be 2x plus 1, 3x minus 2 over 3x minus 2, and then we can add a 1. And then that's going to be divided by 2x plus 1, x minus 1, and then plus the 1, and that will all be over x minus 1. Okay, so now we've got to divide these two fractions, but probably first we need to expand the numerators of both the top and the bottom and then factorize them again. So it's going to be in fact, what I'm now going to do is I'm now going to bring in some of those square brackets and just do the first fraction divided by the second fraction. So it's going to be 6x squared, 3x minus 4x, that would be minus x, and that would be minus 2, but plus 1, minus 2 plus 1 is minus 1, that will be over 3x minus 2. And then it's going to be divided by, I'm changing this fraction line here for a divide by, so that's going to be 2x squared minus 2x plus x, that would be minus x, and then that will be minus 1, but then plus 1, so that would be nothing, and then that would be over x minus 1. Okay, so let's move up to the top here. We now need to factorize the fractions here, so it would be 1 minus, on the left-hand fraction, it's probably going to be a 3x and a 2x. If we do plus and minus 1, so we do the minus 1 on this one and the plus 1 on this one. And that's going to be divided by 3x minus 2. And then I'm going to times and flip the second one to be ready for multiplying it. So it's x minus 1 on the top. And we'll divide this by x bracket 2x minus 1. So that's the factorize of 2x squared minus x. Okay, I can simplify before I now multiply together. So it's going to be 1 minus, and the fraction is going to be 3x plus 1, x minus 1 over x bracket 3x minus 2. Okay, so there we are. That's the fraction that we're going to be subtracting from 1. So I'm going to rewrite the fraction of 1 as x bracket 3x minus 2 over x bracket 3x minus 2 to create the common denominator. And then I'm going to subtract 3x plus 1 x minus 1 over x bracket 3x minus 2. Okay, so let's now expand the brackets and simplify it into a common fraction. X bracket 3x minus 2 is our denominator, and it's going to be 3x squared minus 2x. On the next one, and we're going to subtract all of this stuff here. So it's going to be minus 3x squared. It's going to be a minus 3x and a plus 1, so that would be minus 2x, but then the minus at the front here will make it plus 2x. And then it will be minus 1 when we expand here, but it's a minus at the front, so that'll make it plus 1. So the answer here, 3x squared will cancel, the minus 2x's will cancel, and it will be left with 1 over x bracket 3x minus 2. But our answer specifically wants it in this form here, so I'm going to have to expand the brackets on the denominator here, and it's going to be 3x squared minus 2x. Lovely. Well, if we match this answer up with the answer in the form of the thing up there, it's going to be p equals 3 and q equals minus 2. And there we are. That's the answer for this question, and that's the final question in this algebraic fractions revision video. So hopefully you found this video helpful. Feel free to come back and use it at some time in the future. Use specific questions or do a big chunk of it, however you prefer to use it. But hopefully you found this video helpful. Thanks very much for watching.